Про футболку триває.
Hello, dear everyone. Can you hear me? Please let me know. Good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me.
No problem.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear.
Hello?
Yes. Yes, we can hear.
Yes, it turned out that I couldn't hear you. Thank you very much. So we are starting our bi-weekly update on the situation in Ukraine and in the agricultural industry at most, but not only. We will have a few people today joining us to speak and to provide information as it is said firsthand. So there is going to be a very interesting program and I'm thinking how can we make it how we can make it within 90 minutes. Your questions are welcome and ideas as of what to include next time as well after the session. Right now we are starting with the first presentation of mine. Okay, I'm just checking if the YouTube is actually working. The link for YouTube.
And then Paul will walk us through where we're at from an external affairs and an advocacy standpoint.
Okay, just a second. There is someone's microphone on.
Looks like, and then from there we will have time at the end for Q&A.
Yes, now it is off. Okay, so let's start.
No.
Someone's microphone. Please turn off. Please turn off the. Yes, now it is good. Okay, let me check one more thing regarding the. Yeah, it is running good. So first of all, I would like to say that this is going to be repeated. This event of ours is going to be repeated every 2 weeks, and okay, hide. Yeah. This is the second episode of our bi-weekly update, and okay, just yeah, that's right. So the current situation with war in Ukraine. You know that on the 24th of February, Ukraine was attacked, and this is the 73rd day starting of the war. Thanks God, some of the territories were already freed, and these are the territories to the north and northeast from Kyiv. There is a very serious situation in the south and east. We will talk about the south at the end of this talk today, because yesterday I finally made it to connect to the farmers, to my close friend, actually the first farmer who I worked with in 2008. He is located in Kherson, and he told me some information from what is going on there and in the territories nearby. So we have this location over here. This is a very hot point where the Russian troops want to proceed and close this circle. The Donbass region, it has been for quite a while under the occupation, but in both sides, the Ukrainian side and the Russian side, they have quite serious strongholds there, strong positions. They still try to proceed in Kharkiv. This is where they want to move into the central Ukraine, but our positions, our Ukrainian forces are fighting back successfully so far, and I hope in the nearest future, especially with this land lease that was adopted recently by the Congress, it will be easier for us to fight back. It's they say about a week or two before the equipment will be delivered and distributed between the Ukrainian forces. And of course, the Mariupol. Mariupol is our stronghold that symbolizes how the strength and the and the power of Ukrainian army, because they are staying in the old steel factory underneath the factory in the actual cells. And this is a very serious set of corridors. And although there was a betrayer who provided the information and the maps and the entrances to those underground premises, but our soldiers are still fighting back, and they keep sending the video reports on a daily basis that they are still alive. However, they need help, and this is very important that we do not take, that the government and the partners of Ukraine do not take too long in order to take actions here. So here, this is this metallurgical factory. On the 4th of May, it was said that Russian forces entered the premises underneath, but they didn't succeed to proceed, and our army still are staying strong there and not allowing them to move to the civilians that are still there with the army. So part of the civilians were evacuated, more than 100 of people. This was the only successful attempt of evacuation of people from Mariupol over the last probably 2 weeks, although there were a lot of attempts made to do this. What has changed within the last 2 weeks? Russians have understood that Ukrainian railway system is very strong support to the army, to the agricultural industry, to the rescue of the civilians, and they have started bombing using their remaining air mines and missiles to bomb the important infrastructural and logistical points, especially of the railroads. There is some data here on the right, which of the cities suffered from these strikes. And as you can see, there is no totally safe location in Ukraine that would be away from the missiles. They can reach, unfortunately, every peaceful city, even further in the Transcarpathia. These are the data of the losses from within the Russian army, according to Ukrainian statistics. Of course, it's almost 25,000 of people. It is it is very huge losses, and especially if we take into consideration that this is in the center of Europe. This even adds up to the terrifying widespread of this situation just within the developed countries on the continent. They have used a lot of their equipment and left it in Ukraine. According to some data, optimistical, I would say, this is the majority of their best and still functioning military equipment. The remainings are either very far away on the eastern the territories of Russia or northern, or is too old and is not able to fulfill its function, hopefully. So now we are moving to the agricultural Ukraine. So how Ukraine, in terms of agricultural production, is living through this war. On the left, you can see a map for you to understand how big the country is. Actually, this is the biggest country in Europe. The total area, according to some estimates of the arable farming lands in Ukraine, is 28 million of hectares. Ukrainian people, they have been farming land. This is like a tradition to Ukrainians, and it is said that about 56% of the population of Ukraine, they have some kind of farmland. So taking into consideration, first of all, the territories, secondly, their rich soils, according to some statistics, we can feed, excuse me, the sound, please. Yeah, we can feed up to 600 million people. This is, of course, if everything is functioning well and if there is no war, I'm sorry. So, about the situation with planting right now. The planting is continuing, nevertheless, and despite all the dangers, the farmers are coming into the field. They claim this is our second battlefield, so we must do what we have been doing before, and this is the support to the economy, this is the support to the people, this is the support to the army. So Ukrainian farmers, they do not quit, and they find ways how to plant. Right now, it is planted 4.7 million hectares of spring cereals, which is 30% of the total spring crops planted in 2021. But as of the period for today, if we compare the acreage that was planted last year by May 6 and today, it is only 60%. And you understand why. Plant area of the spring crops and oilseeds is expected to be approximately 14 million hectares, which is 4 million less than last year. The problem with the winter crops, they are there, they are growing. And when the war just was beginning, the farmers managed to feed it with fertilizers. But now there is a problem, and we will speak a little bit more about it, that the fields are mined, and when the crops are growing, the canopy is covering the land. So it is difficult to identify whether there are mines there or not. And this brings additional danger to the farmers to decide whether they are going to be harvesting or not these crops. The farmers who are growing spring wheat, oats, and barley in buckwheat, they are increasing the crops. However, the corn acreage, sunflower, and soybeans are expected to be decreased. Within like 2 weeks ago, this information was coming out, and they still were expecting that oil crops will be also increased. However, it looks like the crops that are of the vital importance, which means that that are used directly for human consumption, like wheat, oats, and barley, and buckwheat, which is the traditional grain for Ukrainians. These crops will be sold in the local market, so it would be growing. The hectares of it would be growing. However, we see that sunflower and soybean, and probably I would say then canola will decrease. My opinion is that that's because of the difficulties in the export, and we have enough of sunflower right now for the local consumption as well as the oil. although the countries in Europe, they lack the oil. And when I was in Germany about 2 weeks ago, I could see the lack of it in the supermarket, on the supermarket shelves. If it were there, they would sell only 1 bottle per person. However, in Ukraine, there is more than enough of it. So probably that is why farmers are focusing on the commodities that are of the vital importance for our population. Here on this chart, you see the spring wheat, buckwheat, this is oats, this is barley, spring barley, sugar beet, sunflower, soybeans, and corn. The brown, this is the percentage of the planted area that is not going to change. This is the in addition to what will be done. So this is, you can see how the area, the acreage of the fields is increasing with these first crops. So next, what we see here, this is the comparison of the planted acres in Ukraine, comparison with the last year. So the blue is what was planted in 2021. The yellow is what is planted on this, according to the statistics, on the 2nd of May this year. And this green shows what is the plan for year 2022. Here comes corn, sunflower, soybeans, spring barley, and spring wheat. The acreage is the biggest for corn. Please mind that for Ukrainians, probably the biggest acreage is within the winter wheat. It usually is the biggest. Here it is not stated. That is why we see corn and sunflower as the highest acreage commodities. How the farmers are doing their work. It was just the day before yesterday when one of the Kyiv farmers posted pictures of his quite big tractor having exploded in the fields because of the mines. Russians, when they were retreating, they have been doing the most destruction and damage. They've been trying to cause the most damage to their territories as they could. So first of all, they were mining their storages with commodities within the small farmers or like people's cells and storage facilities. And that was done in order to, so first of all, when people would come back, they would start restacking those sacks with potato and other commodities, and they would explode. Their system of mining the fields, this is the distance mining system, is called земледелие, which means tillage. How how cynical that is. And they have presented this unit which actually can do the mining of any territory within almost 12 miles, maybe 15 miles, according to the map, thus leaving a path for those who have the maps. However, they were using it not only for the territories where the military were, but they were mining just the fields distantly. According to some estimate, up to half of all territory of Ukraine needs to be checked for mines, which is 300,000 square kilometers. Can you imagine half of Ukraine is at risk with mines? You should understand that this is also taken into consideration the north part of Ukraine, where Ukrainians mined the forests, expecting Belarusians to start coming from the north. For example, I am from Volyn region, and people there, they are used to collecting the wild berries, mushrooms in the forests. Right now, this is strictly forbidden because the danger of Russian forces and Belarusian coming from the north still remains, and these mines are still there. Like I said, the canopies of the crops are growing and they're hiding the mines. The drones, they are able to identify the mines. There are different systems that are applied. However, it is much easier to identify the already exploded mine rather than the one that is still sitting there. It is with a minimum size seen from the air, and thus it can be mixed with a rock or something else. It is difficult to be identified. By the way, that farmer, the driver of the tractor that I mentioned just a minute ago, he survived, thanks God. So the Ministry of Agricultural Policy as well as the military, they are they are collecting their requests for demining the land, and they have been already doing it for a couple of weeks, but the process is slow. First of all, due to the inavailability of enough drones. If the farmers have their own drones, they use them. And in Ukraine, by the way, it is very popular to have drones for the just outlook of the crops, or for the NDVI pictures, or even for spraying. In Ukraine, the legislation allows to use those drones. As from the previous slides was seen, part of the hectares of the fields will not be planted. But if you take the total acreage, 28 million hectares, it will not be that that big of the share of this total land that is not going to be planted. However, we need to add up the lack of the inputs, which reduces the potential yields, and of course the late season, because farmers are coming into the season after they check for the mines, after like later when they finally succeeded finding the inputs if they didn't have ones. So the average just a second, the average time frame that they are coming late is within 2 to 3 weeks at least. Here is about the lack of the resources. This is the data that was at the beginning of April. Right now it has improved because there were the resources in the storages of some companies, the distributors of the inputs. It found the way how to be delivered to the farmers. For example, our partners, the company Quantum, they have the facility near Kharkiv. It is heavily shelled. It has been heavily shelled since the war started, but the plant is working. They are mixing the liquid fertilizers, and they have found the way for the farmers to pick those fertilizers themselves. Before the war, they had their own logistical system, but now, like I said, the logistics has been broken for the inputs and for the sale of the produce. That is why new routes are being invented. Another very huge problem is the lack of the spare parts, of the machine oil, and of those inputs just to keep the tractors driving. And of course, the shortage of the people. We have heard an interesting fact last time that men have taken women to safe place to the Western Ukraine, and they remain doing their jobs in the central Ukraine. Thus, the jobs that were occupied with women mainly, they have shortage of labor. And of course, the men themselves, they have gone to military or to the territorial defending troops. And now, for example, although the priority was given to agricultural industry, and when the army ministry approached their citizens to take them to the military, they had this this is a law that priority should be given to those who are in agriculture, to stay in agricultural industry. Thus, the farmers were supposed to provide the data on how many laborers men working they have, and how many of those they can give away for their military purposes. Like the rest must stay, otherwise the planting will not happen. So this was a very solid criteria which was used. However, still out of, for example, 5 drivers for the tractors, 1 or 2 have been left. Like I said, a lot of destruction has been made to the infrastructure. Agricultural industry in Ukraine equals 40% of the total export revenue, and thus destroying the infrastructure within the country, it adds up difficulties to taking the commodities out of the country. That's one factor. The second factor, they have deliberately been destroying the agricultural facilities. The first, you can see the list of 4 of those. By the way, there was a question last time, it seems to me, whether they have been saving the ports in those occupied territories. Now we can see that the port in Mariupol has been completely destroyed, and that is the agricultural port. So they actually do not care about anything. Now we can see this. They have been, if they couldn't destroy totally the elevator, which was the case in the northern part of Kyiv oblast, they were destroying the most valuable things, like computers, like engines, or systems of like electrical systems of controlling the flow of air in the elevators and so on, which is in total, the value of it is much higher than the actual bin or the system of delivering the grain. They have been also stealing or looting the most expensive parts from the combines and tractors, but being stupid, they didn't count the fact that both the actual units of machinery like John Deere tractors and combines, which were looted from Melitopol machinery dealer, or the actual monitors that they have been massively stealing from the farmers, they get locked and they are unable to be used in their locations. For example, like this Chechnya village Zakat yurt. The stolen equipment, the modern stolen equipment, cannot be used and unless it is agreed with the producer. And of course, no one will authorize its usage knowing that it was stolen. A lot of farmers in the areas that are occupied, which is Kherson, Zaporizhzhia, and Mykolaiv, especially those nearby to the entrance to the peninsula, to the Autonomous Republic of Crimea, everything was taken what could be taken. So the equipment, the machinery, even I heard, and I will be talking about it later, even the museum, the Natural Science Museum from Kherson was taken within one night with this caravan of trucks. Why would they do it? I have no answer to that question. Just to cause destruction. The grains, that's another story. There was a case, it seems to me at the beginning of this week, that they decided to take the stolen grain from Ukrainian ports to Egypt and sell it. But thanks God, Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs was quick enough to provide the information that it was stolen. So Egypt refused to buy it. This is very nice and a civilized gesture, taking into consideration that Egypt right now is buying, instead of this grain, is buying much more expensive grain that is taken from the Pacific coast, and it should travel all the way from Pacific goes through the Panama Channel to them, instead of just taking it through the within the European area. So about the grain exports, I had a question yesterday when I was interviewed by Mr. Clinton Griffith at the Egg Day show. What is the total capacity of Ukrainian elevators? And the answer is 57,000. Actually, this is million tons, 57 million tons, metric tons. For you to understand, right now, the remaining grain that needs to be exported is about 20 million metric ton. I said this number, I used this number last time, 2 weeks ago, and it remains the same because only one cargo ship was unloaded from the, it seems to me, Constanța port in Romania. I'm not sure about the actual port, but the fact is, this is just now that they are starting to use the newly developed chain or infrastructure to export grain. And it was the problem number one for the Agricultural Ministry of Ukraine, which took up to 80% of its all working capacity, how to make sure that the grain is exported abroad. However, the market has already reacted. The prices went up, and it is estimated that the prices will be high for at least 5 years from now, just due to this situation. Actually, this is the most scary or the most widespread effect from the military conflict since the World War II that is influencing agriculture in the world. So all other wars or conflicts have not been that serious as this one in the impact to the agricultural and food supply worldwide. On the right, you can see the list of the countries that have been purchasing wheat from Ukraine and Russia. You know the problems with Ukraine. Russia is under sanctions. So the countries like Somalia, Benin, Laos are in most trouble because they are not that wealthy to afford double-priced crops somewhere away from, I'm sorry, just a second. Yeah, people are connecting. And but still they have to find alternative supplies for the all amount of the commodities they need to feed their people. And as it was said before, Ukrainians will not feel the lack of the food. Actually, we have the excess of food right now, all sorts, vegetables, grains, and even animal products. However, the world will feel it, unfortunately. About 1/3 of all the reserved commodities in those areas over here, you see Kherson, Mariupol, and a little bit there, they are all captured and being looted, stolen by Russians. They even dare to speak on their public video channels, in their talk shows, how they will be selling stolen from Ukraine grain to the market like China, for example. And they speak it as if it is something normal and this is the way how it should be. So they have no moral, ethical, I mean, nothing new for you, but still it proves that these are not a country with people. This is the country of someone from the medieval times or even before. So there, I want to remind that Ukrainian ports were able to export up to 5 million metric tons of commodities through the sea. Right now, you see those red spots. This is the territories controlled by, actually mined. So there is no way the cargo ship would come over and be able to unload or upload the produce from our ports. Although Odessa, for example, is still unoccupied, and I hope it will never be, but no ships are coming there. Ukraine has decided, the government has decided to stop the work of all the other ports under occupation because they were not controlled by Ukraine. So no respected company would come to these ports even if Russia allows them to. Yes, so railway infrastructure, this is the next goal. First there were military goals, then there were hospitals that they were targeting, then came the fuel storages, and now the railway infrastructure. However, the countries of Europe and worldwide, they are helping us. They are looking for the ways how to help us export these commodities, and they are dropping the custom clearance duties and setting up new corporations to increase the export. However, we need to understand that there is a problem with the, first of all, difference in the railway size between Ukraine and European Union. Ukrainian railway is about 10 centimeters wider, so the cars need to be reset on the different axes, and of course the unloading of the cars is another problem to the ship, because if it were to be unloaded from the terminal, like for example in Mykolaiv, which is set up to load the I don't remember the numbers, but it's like about at least 8 times quicker the Panamax ship or the barge than if it is done directly from the cars. Let me try to find here the video I had. Okay, here it is. One second, please. Yes, this is the video how they have tried to do the unloading from the car directly to the barge, but this is just developing, so they're checking all the options they have. And then similar to the semis that United States are using with these coned bottoms, they just drop it there. Okay, let's return back to the so now we have an American citizen who is farming in Ukraine. His name is Gordie. Gordie, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well. Very enjoyable presentation. Thank you very much for the super information you're presenting today.
Thank you for joining. Last time you were busy with noble role of delivering the humanitarian aid from Warsaw, but thank you for finding time. I understand how it is important for you to be in the fields these days. However, could you please tell us and the audience here, what is the situation from the standpoint of the actual agricultural producer in Ukraine, and how is it to do farming? And by the way, you are in Ukraine right now. How long have you been in Ukraine? When was the last time you traveled to the United States?
I was in the U.S. last on the 13th, I believe, of March 2020. I came to Ukraine just ahead of the shutdown for COVID. I want
almost
because I
more
do
than
farm
2
here.
years.
Yeah, well, because I farm here, I wanted to be here in case the borders got shut down and I couldn't travel. So I came just ahead of the shutdown in 2020. I've only been out of the country twice since then, 3 times since. One for a short vacation, another time to renew a visa in Montenegro, and then last week or 2 weeks ago over to Poland to pick up some humanitarian aid.
There is a problem with the sound. Gordie, Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so and right now you are staying in Ukraine, and did you consider leaving with this war going on, especially in the first weeks when it was uncertain whether they will come from the north or not?
All leading up to the war, up till February 24th morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I seriously never thought the invasion would happen. Many of my American friends and relatives were saying, you should get out of there. It's going to happen. They're going to come. I said, no. And my opinion is not that much different than most of the business people I know here. Very few people really expected this to happen, and especially in the way it's happened. Such a World War II Operation Barbarossa style invasion. Just never saw that coming. Actually, I'd gone down on February 23rd to Vinnytsia, and I was there to meet a container. I also sell farm equipment here. We were getting a container into Vinnytsia. I spent the night there, and 5 o'clock in the morning, a friend of mine called and said, hey, you're being invaded. And I turned on my phone, and sure enough. So the first thing I did was went and fill up my tank with gas, went back to the motel and spent a day or two soul searching, deciding what I should do. Should I drive down to Moldavia and go home, or should I stick around? And at the end of the day, I just said, no. I've been here for a long time. I've started working in Ukraine in 1993. I've become a part of the Ukrainian culture. And it felt very wrong to me to just abandon everything and get on a plane and fly home. So I came up here to our place. We're very, very close to where we're within just a few kilometers of where the Russians first crossed on the night of the 23rd, 24th of February.
I see. And yeah, this is impressive, especially taking into consideration that you are a citizen of the country which is much safer right now than staying in Ukraine. So thank you for for this loyalty, and I'm sure that Ukrainians also appreciate it. And how is it to do the farming right now? What are the most important issues that the farmers in the unoccupied territory are facing these days?
You have done an excellent job outlining a lot of the problems. It's like you're in contact with here every day and have a real good handle on it. Fuel is our number one problem. Fuel is our number one problem right now. Because our company did not lay in fuel in the fall, we're rushing around each day trying to find enough fuel to operate for one more day. A lot of companies had a very good year in 2021. They had extra money, so they went ahead and laid in fertilizer and fuel already last fall. And those are the smart guys. Those guys are operating and going full bore in the field. But some of the rest of us up here in the north, we had a really poor season. We were one of the few areas that really got hit by some dry weather, then a very unpleasant fall. It was January before we finished harvesting corn. So we didn't have the luxury of being able to lay in fertilizer and fuel. And so we suffer for that every day now. Today I paid as much as, I think if you converted it to dollars, it'd be about $6.70 a gallon for diesel fuel. And as I was at the pump filling up all the tanks in the back of my minivan, the guy next to me was saying, hey, don't complain. He said, I paid 100 hryvnia, or about $11.80 today per gallon down in Kyiv for fuel. So fuel is a really critical thing here, right? We're just lucky that there's days that there is fuel available. A lot of fuel stations only give you 20 liters at a time, 15 liters at a time. So we'll take 2 or 3 guys and we'll go out so that in one trip to a fuel station, we might be able to get 60 liters. And then we go to another fuel station, wait in line, get some more fuel. And this is the only way in our area that you can press forward. They're just, fuel is in very short supply. The other thing is that fertilizer, if you didn't buy it again last fall, fertilizer has just gotten astronomically expensive. In hryvnia terms, I can't convert it that quickly in my mind, but our urea fertilizers over 32,000 hryvnia a ton, so about over $1,000 a ton. Now, if you're in the States and you're enjoying pretty good crop prices, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt as bad. But we just tried to sell corn and soybeans in the last week, to have some cash in for buying inputs. and our crop prices here are just collapsed. I mean, the closest place I could find was Western Ukraine. I had to deliver it there, and for corn, and the price was really, really low. We sold a few
by the
soybeans.
way, I'm sorry for interruption. This is one of the ways they just are working through with Western countries, so that the farmers themselves could freely, without any additional slowing down through the customs, bring the commodities to Poland and to Europe with their trucks, which is going to be very unusual because because our trucks capacities, I mean the amount of trucks in Ukraine and the roads and especially the custom clearance between the countries, this is a very slow process in order to have these 20 million of metric tons be exported. However, this is a little bit like crumble by crumble, the total solution will come. Please, Gordie, I'm sorry for interruption.
And that would be a huge help because, right now, if I send a truck to Poland loaded up with corn, he's going to wait in line at the border. When I was there 2 weeks ago, I think one trucker told me he'd been waiting there in line 2 or 3 days. So if you send a truckload of corn, that's only 24 tons of corn or 23 tons of corn. That takes a long time to send very much corn by truck if you're waiting 3 days in line at the border. But the situation isn't much better down at the 1 or 2 remaining river terminals down on the Danube River in southern Odessa Oblast. There too, we tried to send some soybeans down that direction, but the wait in line 2 weeks ago at Reni was, or not Reni, but Ismail was about 8 to 10 days. Trucks were standing in line. Now, in the meantime, the Russians have bombed the bridge at Zatoka. And so that makes it even more difficult to get grain down to the 1 remaining terminal down at Ismail. There's only 1 bridge remaining across that little sliver of water that you see between the southern and northern parts of Odessa Oblast. And so it's very difficult to get grain.
This is it I'm showing, right? This is right here.
Right there is the one they bombed. And then on the northwest side of that estuary is 1 other bridge, and that's the only one that's connecting the north and south of Odessa Oblast, and the only connection to a river seaport at this point. So the situation from farmers, yes, it's very difficult right now, very difficult to get money, very difficult to sell grain, and I know many farmers in the same position. Traditionally, this is the time of year when prices are highest, so a lot of farmers will hold their grain till now to sell it now at the highest price so they can buy their inputs. And so you have a lot of farmers sitting on a lot of grain that we're not talking about in the official storage facilities, but on the on-farm storage facilities, and they can't do anything with it. Diesel fuel at $6.70 a gallon, it's very expensive to truck it all the way to Western Ukraine. So where else are you going to go with it? Yeah, it's a really difficult, touchy situation for farmers. You outlined extremely well our problems with the supply chain for parts, for lube oils. Prices on all those have gone up. Yeah, it's going to be a tough year.
And everybody are talking about these inputs problems and market like sale of the produce problems. However, what about the weather? Is at least the nature weather favorable to the farmers in Ukraine?
In my area, we're finally having a halfway decent spring. We went through 2 very dry springs the last 2 years, 20 and 21. This spring, April, we had good moisture. So we're starting out the year with good moisture, better than last year, better than the year before. Now, I can't speak for other areas. I know kind of the south central part of Ukraine had a pretty dry winter, and some of their wheat didn't come through very well. But yeah, our area is in pretty good shape for moisture. But I won't speak for all areas.
Yeah, and it turns out that the southern areas, which mainly are Kherson Oblast, this is irrigated territory. I will talk more about that. Odessa Oblast, this is a very wheat-producing area, and here those which are mined, they have better stand of the plants here, which is a dangerous situation to come and harvest them, whereas there is no danger with the mines, the stand of the plants is not that good. Am I making it?
Excellent point. Excellent point. Yeah, Odessa Oblast, they had a very dry fall. Much of Odessa Oblast went through the winter with almost no snow cover, and that extends all the way up even into southern parts of Zhytomyr, Dmytro Oblast as well.
This is here.
But they've had enough moisture to get by this spring, but nothing in excess.
I got it. So, and what are the expectations about the fuel and about, and one more thing, very important, the government has come up with two programs. The first one is purchasing of the commodities for the sake of the governmental storage, like, the secured country, how do they call it, bulk storage of the commodities to secure the food supply within the country. And the second is the loans, which are free of the interest for a couple of months, and that do not require collateral. The government is providing the collateral to the banks. So how helpful is that?
Now, when I saw that program come out, I was very excited and very hopeful. But I don't know how farmers in other areas of Ukraine have fared with the program, if they've actually seen money. I hope they have. In our particular area, for the first month and a half of the program, we were denied access to the program because we were considered in the high risk zone. So those of us in our northern Zhytomyr Oblast, over in Sumy and Kharkov, and of course, all down the southeast corridor, we were not eligible for the program because we were considered to be the red zone. Now that was lifted in late April, but now the backlog of applicants is so long. We are in contact on an every other day basis, and they say your application is in. We just have too many applicants, and as a problem you outlined earlier, there's a shortage of workers. Some of the banks that are managing the program are very, very short on staff. They're in Western Ukraine, they're in Poland, because as you aptly pointed out, these are primarily positions occupied by women, and many of the women have been evacuated out of the country, and rightly so. So it creates a backlog for those of us trying to apply for the program.
I got it. And what about the purchasing of the commodities by the government? Did it increase the price? Did it provide any possibilities to sell it? Or because about a month ago, when they came out with this piece of news, nobody knew what will be the amount they're purchasing, what will be the price. Has it gone far enough to speak how effective it is?
I don't know personally of anyone that has been able to use the program. I know several people sitting on large amounts of grain, and they're still sitting on large amounts of grain. So I am not familiar with anyone who has had access to that program.
I see. Got it. Okay. If anyone has questions to Gordie, this is the best time to ask him. He speaks your language, English. He's an excellent expert on the situation in Ukraine, and he is loyal to Ukrainian agriculture and to the country. So please feel free to ask questions. Otherwise, we will be proceeding. We will be thanking to Gordie for his time, saying thanks, and we will be proceeding with our plan to the next steps. By the way, I do not see the questions right now with my screen sharing option coming in the chat. So if you want, could you please read them aloud? Okay, Gordie, if you stay for a while, maybe people will come up with questions, but thank you very much for your time. Good luck with planting and with selling. This is most important probably, because unless you have the final goal, there is no use to proceed with the first steps. However, what you are doing is very noble, and I'm honored to have a chance to be acquainted with you and to talk to you today. Good luck, stay safe. That's the most important. Secondly, good luck with economical, with the business part of what you are doing.
Roman, you've put together an excellent program today, and I think all the participants should be very, very pleased with or very informed by what you put together. It's extremely accurate, and I've even learned a few things today too, and I think I'm going to stay tuned for a little while because I'm learning a lot as well.
Thank you very much. This is what we are trying to do, and hopefully we will be able to be providing an update, which is the information from the rural areas in Ukraine and from agriculture is lacking on the media resources in the West. So our aim is to fill in this gap. So once again, thank you, and we will be continuing now to our part of work that has been done by Dmytro Kalytka. He is the project coordinator within the Travelite Agro, and all our team right now, we are working for the sake of the project World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine. And Dmytro took a chance, and he traveled for the last 4 days throughout the northern part of Kyiv oblast, the actual area through which the Russian forces were trying to seize Kyiv. And this area was mostly destructed at the beginning of the war. This is the targeted area for us right now to help rebuild it, because it has been freed up from the Russian forces. It is being freed up from Russian mines. People are returning to their wrecked, as you can see, homes, and they are ready to proceed with rebuilding and with agriculture. And our aim is to help them here. Dima, are you there? Dima, привіт, ти там?
Так, всім доброго дня.
Okay, I will be translating. Dima speaks Ukrainian. So far he hasn't learned English, but soon he will, I hope. Кажу, буду говорити, перекладати, тому що поки що Діма англійською не розмовляє, але скоро почне, сподіваємось. Гаразд, Дім, що тобі вдалося побачити? І розкажи, будь ласка, свої враження від цих речей.
На протязі цієї неділі я відвідав Вишгородський район в Київській області, а саме села це Демидів, Козаровичі, Димир і Гута Межигірська.
So over this week, I had a chance to visit the areas with these villages named Kozarovichi, Demidів, Димир, Гута Межигірська.
Як ми на фото бачимо, є жахливі кадри, де ворожі сили просто винищували села.
As you can see the destruction that is taken, that the pictures are showing, they were made by the Russian troops just in order to destroy totally the villages. So they were attempting to provide a total destruction to those villages.
Зліва на фото зверху ми бачимо, як теплиці попередньо були. Це близько 400 теплиці, де базувалися самі ворожі сили, там проживали, все спалили, і звідти, якби ми бачимо, велись бойові дії їхні. Тобто лежать уламки, ось там окопи, є гільзи видно і так далі.
So on this set of pictures, you can see the farm, the actual greenhouses farm, which totaled about 300 hectares. It is huge. It is about 500 acres. Правильно я зрозумів? 300 гектар під теплицями? 400, 400 hectares, which is maybe 650 to 700 acres under the glass greenhouses. So it was a very high-end farm for vegetables, and Russian military, they made it their stronghold. They lived there, they fed there, and they were shooting from there. You can see the remainings of the cannon. До речі, як будуть гільзи, не знаю. So this is from the after the cannon, and these are the boxes with the ammunition after the ammunition was used. So they actually were doing the attacks from this area.
Це в нас село Гута-Межигірська, це будинки повністю зруйновані. Ось ми бачимо, де взагалі нічого немає. Це на сьогоднішній день цей господар будинку, він ще досі проживає в підвалі, тому що в ньому взагалі немає куди піти, в нього немає родичів, до кого переселитись. І ось ми бачимо, це його був тракторець, який був також зруйнований. Це село невеличке таке, 230, здається, осіб там проживає.
So this is, you can see the wrecks of the house of the small village citizen. By saying small, I mean small in terms of the agricultural producer, because you can see that he used to have a tractor and he has had a house which was totally destroyed. Right now he's living in the cell, in the basement, because he doesn't have relatives to go to. And yes, what can I say? He still lives in the basement. And what does he have to do? The shelters can do only in short time frame help, but then anyway you need to return, especially if the area where you're from has been freed from the forces. But the question arises how they need to be rebuilding, and I hope that everybody who here are listening us will assist us in helping them to rebuild. This is all about the World to Rebuild Rural project. I will tell more about this a little later, right before we get to the talk about Kherson and southern areas. Sorry, Дім, трошечки відволікся. Давай далі.
Вся ворожа техніка повітряна, яка піднімалася, винищувала просто це село. По розповідям людей, вони там жили неділями в підвалах і там харчувались, навіть не виходили звідти. Тобто ми бачимо, що близько 20 сімей, здається, в цьому селі я відвідав, і це всі зруйновані будинки майже вщент.
Dima is saying that he's visited about 20 families in this village, and they all were saying that they needed to spend almost all the time under the occupation in the basements, because all of the air equipment, so like helicopters and the attacks were made from the air, and they were targeting to total destruction of the village. So whether those were the cannons, whether those were the helicopters or the jets, they were bombing this village just to destroy it to the basement. And they didn't have a chance even to go out to cook outside. They were cooking in the cells because of the total shellings.
Зліва на фото ось ми бачимо бабусю, яка виховує двох своїх внуків. В них повністю немає будинку, вони десь там проживають наразі у сусідів. Така ось ситуація.
So here on the left, in the upper left corner, you can see the photo of the grandmother of the older lady who used to live in this house with two of her grandchildren. But now they needed to move to their neighbors because there is no possibility to live there. There is no conditions.
Це село Демидів. Тут, як ми бачимо, зруйновані комерційні приміщення, є багатоповерхівки, і в наступному слайді я розповім детальніше, що там сталося. Це ось сім'я Анатолія, яка знаходиться...
Зараз, секундочку. So this is the Dmytro village. You can see the a little bit higher building. It's not a skyscraper, of course, but it's a multiple story considered, and some commercial buildings destroyed. And next, this is the story of Anatoly, who lives in Dmytro in Kyiv oblast. Dima will tell his story.
Він живе по цій вулиці. Коротенько я ознайомився з Анатолієм, він розповів мені свою ситуацію, яка відбулася. І 4 березня в 19 годині вечора там на проїжджу частину впала балістична ракета, яка внаслідок чого рознесли їхні будівлі і ті, що були напроти на минулих фотографіях.
So on the 4th of March, at about 7 p.m., in the main street where their house and where the household is located, the ballistic rocket landed just in the middle of the road, and it exploded, destroying with this blast the buildings around. And their house was one of them who stopped this blast.
Анатолій виховує 2 дітей, як видно на фото, це його дружина поряд з ними. В них половину будинку зруйновано майже повністю. Ну, там видно, що немає якби даху, і несучі стіни зруйновані, всі вікна повибивало.
So half of the house was destroyed. You can see the family of his wife. They have 2 children, a daughter and a son. The house lost its main walls, the walls that hold the roof, and of course all the windows were destroyed as well.
Під час вибуху вони були в себе в будинку, але там з іншої частини будинку вони не постраждали, все окей, і тільки зруйнувалося якби сам будинок частково.
They were lucky to at that moment to be in the other part of this house, which had less destruction, and they survived. So none of them got hurt.
Можемо далі йти.
Це воно, да?
Це їхні, да, більш детальніші фотографії.
Цей будинок, це там, де ми прапор бачимо, правильно розумію, де вони були?
Ні, це справа будинок, це їхні зруйновані, якби там.
Тобто вони все ще були в цьому.
Ні, там правіше, там наступна десь фотографія, напевно, має бути.
Ні, це не тут. Окей, ну зрозумів. So, you see this house is totally wrecked right now, this part of the house, and Dima is saying that somewhere on the right over there is the second part of the house which survived. So the explosion was coming from here, it destroyed the house and partially the garage. You see the iron doors with the strength of the explosion, they just went inside. They were almost demolished inside the garage, and the cracks in the remaining in the other part of the house. However, there is a flag on the neighboring, which is not finished yet on the other house. Окей. А до речі, ось цей будинок, це їхній чи це сусідський? Я бачу, він
це сусідський будинок, це там сім'я спортсменів живає.
These are the neighbors of Anatoly, the family of the sportsmen. The children are sportsmen, so they were constructing. You see, it's just in the middle of construction. This house, it succeeded to stand, thanks to Anatoly's house, which stopped the blast. Okay, and it's not okay, of course, but okay that they are alive. Кажу, добре, що вони живі.
Ці фото з господарства Олександра. З Олександром я познайомився в селі Козаровичі. Він сьогодні з нами є на зв'язку, і він детальніше розповість свою історію, і як відбувалося все.
These are the photos from the farm of 500 hectares owned by Alexander in the village of Kozarovichi. He is connected to our session today, so he himself can speak what was happening in his farm. Олександре Вікторовичу, доброго дня. Ви там? Я пропустив ваш дзвінок якраз на початку. Перепрошую, просто був в ефірі, не міг відповісти. Добре, що ви підключилися. І слава Богу, що ви здорові і що ви не постраждали. Як, до речі, сім'я? Всі нормально, всі в здраві, як то кажуть, після цих подій?
Ну, сім'я ще вся не приїхала, бо діти з тещою, жіночими батьками ще знаходяться в Хмельницькій області. Тут ще ми не ризикуємо їх сюди забирати, так що ще не всі разом.
So I asked how is the family, whether everybody have survived without injuries this attack. He says that they're still in the refuge shelter in Khmelnytskyi Oblast. He doesn't want them to come back yet, so only he returned because of the start of the season. Гаразд, Олександре, розкажіть, будь ласка, про те, що у вас відбувалося, і саме головне, які збитки, як ви даєте раду зараз?
Ну, які збитки? Збитки, в принципі, постраждало практично все, всі заощадження, ну, які були у нас, були в товарній продукції і були у нас в закуплених в насінні, в добривах, в СЗРах. От все це було у нас, і було у нас ще десь біля 250 тонн соняшникового насіння, от яке ми мали в березні, десь в середині березня десь мали його продавати.
Давайте я перекладу. So, speaking about the losses, we have lost everything because first of all, the majority of the commodities were still in the storage, waiting to be sold in the spring. As well as all the inputs were purchased upfront, the fertilizers and the crop protection chemicals, as well as the seeds, all were purchased and stored in on the farm. So the total evaluation is 1 million hryvnias, which is approximately one hryvnia equals to $30. Так. І коли це все відбувалося, і за яких обставин? Вони просто проходили, чи вони зупинилися у вас?
У нас в селі, давайте я трішки про себе розкажу. Я, в принципі, от у нас сімейний бізнес, ми десь такий середньостатистичний український фермер, фермерське господарство. От з цього року ми вже стали якби товариством з обмеженою відповідальністю, якраз з 1 лютого, десь отак от, з перших числах лютого ми перейшли вже на товариство з обмеженою відповідальністю.
Давайте я буду перекладати, щоб нічого не пропустити. Let me tell a little bit about myself, Alexander is saying. We are considered to be a mid-sized farmer in Ukraine, and from registration as the private entrepreneur, which was earlier, we have shifted to a registration as the private company. So this was an important shift, and it was made for the purpose of the further development and growth of the business. Так?
Да, у нас десь приблизно біля 500 гектарів землі. От зараз біля мене Олексій, це мій, в принципі, якби родич, який виїхав, до речі, з Маріуполя, своєю сім'єю. Да,
я вас вітаю, Олексію.
Да, який також, що ми втратили по бізнесу все, а Олексій ще втратив і, коротше, все майно. Залишилось тільки футболка, штани і машина, скажімо так, і все.
Хороше настроєння.
We have lost everything that is connected with our farming business. However, Alexei, who is my partner, and he is also next to me sitting right now. You can hear his voice. He and his family were lucky to escape Mariupol. And they have only brought the car and their clothes that were on them. That's all. Так, звук, будь ласка, виключіть, хто там підключився. So he has good mood because that's the most important life. He was able to save life of him and his family, although all the property that they owned in Mariupol was lost, was destroyed. Так.
Да, ну, в принципі, на сьогоднішній день ми, можна сказати, такі постраждали у нас в районі з сільських господарств найбільше, тому що в нашому селі якраз знаходилось як і передвижна, так і стаціонарна артилерія. Село у нас було під час бойових дій закрите росіянами, і з нашого якраз села в них була вигідна точка. Вони якраз вели артобстріл Бучі, Гостомеля, по Києву, по оболоні, все, що прилітало артилерія по Бучі, по Гостомелю, це якраз стріляло з нашого села.
So our village has a very convenient location for the Russians to be doing the artillery shelling of the Hostomel, Bucha, and Obolon region in Kyiv city. So they made this village their stronghold, and it was totally occupied. That is why my farm is the one that is totally destroyed, unlike some other farms that has partial damages.
На сьогоднішній день ми, в принципі, втратили всі ці заощадження, що у нас були в товарній продукції і в матеріалах, що ми мали на цей рік ще весною продати, і щоб у нас була оборотні кошти для все це. У нас, в принципі, що насіння на весну, що добрива, практично всі. СЗР, і матеріали, наприклад, таке, що у нас в ангарі росіяни, вони зробили собі СТО, ремонтували і, соответственно, весь електроінструмент, ключі, тобто все, що було годами собиралося там для ремонту техніки, в принципі, вони забрали все. Ми приїхали, ні ключа, ні болгарки, ні дрелі, ні помпи, ні генератора, в кожну мелочь. Або вони її десь позабирали, ми знаходили в окопах, там гідросйомники такі, що, знаєте, треба в сільхозтехніки підшипник зняти. Масла з тракторів позливали. Дальше по техніці я віддільно розкажу.
So what we experienced, first of all, like I said previously, all the inputs for the season were destroyed, the seeds, the fertilizers, and the crop protection inputs, which were purchased upfront. And the commodities were meant to be sold and then have some cash for fulfilling the planting season. Also, the shed, the farm was used as the repair station for the Russian military equipment. Therefore, they have taken all the equipment to fix even these keys and small appliances to unscrew the bolts have been taken. Their hydraulic equipment to take off the bearings were taken and then found in a couple of kilometers away. When they were running away, just dropped it. All the generators, anything that is needed to do the repair of the agricultural machinery, and everything that was collected and generated over the decades of years of life, because this is not something that you come to the bank, you take the loan and buy full spectrum of these appliances. They've been buying them by little portions according to the necessity, and everything was taken. So even to the trifles, like these keys to unscrew the bolts, they were also looted by Russians. The oil from the machinery, from the tractors, was drained down. But this is the separate topic, the machinery. Тож, будь ласка, Олександр, про техніку ви казали, окремо поговорите. Що саме в плані що склалося з технікою? У вас ж, напевно, там були і комбайн, і трактор.
Ні, комбайн, слава Богу, знаєте, комбайн у нас залишився, це взагалі чудо, що він залишився живий. Там вони його просто позливали масла, всі рідини з нього позливали, там прийомник якийсь стояв, знаєте, банально 300 гривень той прийомник, але вони його зняли. Але наробили...
Радіоприйомник?
Радіоприйомник, да. Вони радіоприйомник за 300 гривень вирвали, От, але вириваючи радіоприйомник, вони вирвали весь, виходить, всю систему управління в комбайні. Соответственно, цей 300 гривень прийомник, я б його лучше їм 10 їх купив і подарив, щоб вони тільки, ну, тепер там треба визивати сервіс, і можете представити, скільки це комп'ютер отремонтувати в комбайні. Це.
So, thanks God, the combine was one of the units that almost survived. Why I'm saying almost is because they have drained the oils, and also they were trying, and they succeeded to steal the radio, which was attached to the panel with gear, with the electrical appliances in the combine, which costed $10. They have been taking it out and thus destroyed all the panel, and now the combine needs to be repaired. So I need, Alexander is saying, I need to call the technicians to come over and fix it, because they caused more damage to the combine by just pulling out that radio compared to the price of the radio, actually. Why would they need this radio? Окей, да, і стосовно інших одиниць техніки, що у вас ще...
Так, інших одиниць, значить, у нас згорів, ну, оце, це наш ангар, от давайте так уже прив'язку до фотографії, це наш ангар, де залишки на дальньому плані добрива, все, що залишилося, це ми вже трішки поприбирали, бо там криша була обвалена, але їх використовувати практично неможливо, ми спробували, але неможливо. І залишки ярової пшениці, твердих сортів, які ми планували весною посіяти, але...
Да, воно на згорівшого.
Да, оце от на другій фотографії, це якраз...
Там стояли бігбеги.
Бігбеги, да, 10 тонн у нас було якби на яровий посів пшениці, але залишилось у нас там 1,5 тонни, скажімо так, і то такі згадки.
Let's go through the photographs. On the left, you can see my storage facility, and you can see the remaining big bags of the fertilizers, which although are still there, but they have been polluted with other, probably with the explosions and water rainfall. So now it is not, we are not able to use it. And the remainings of the 10 metric tons of the seeds for spring wheat, which was stored in that shed. Now all we could collect probably about 1.5 metric tons, like 10-15% of the total volume, because the roof was destroyed and there was a fire there. So again, it got polluted and contaminated. It will not germinate. Олександре?
Так, по техніці, значить, в цьому ангарі у нас залишився оприскувач. Оце все, що у нас залишилось. Трактор у нас, да, трактор у нас, оце якраз в цьому ангарі у нас було більше 250 тонн насіння соняшника, яке ми планували здати. І, в принципі, і трактор, яким ми працювали, ну і на сьогоднішній день у нас, в принципі, і немає чим працювати, бо та єдиниця робоча лошадка, що у нас була, вона залишилася у нас навічно.
In these photographs, you can see the other storage facility, hangar, which had about 250 metric tons of the sunflower seeds, and we were going to sell them in the spring as a commodity. However, it got burnt, as well as the tractor, the only pulling tractor that we were using got burnt as well in this shed. По трактору, а як відносно навісного обладнання на трактор? Воно вціліло? Ну, типу там...
Да, навісне обладнання вціліло. Ну, там
прицеп
осколками там побило, якби робочі органи. Ну, це, в принципі, намагаємось його восстановити. От, бачите, тут зліва якраз були семена пшениці. От на цій фотографії, не пшениці, а кукурузи і соняшника. От, в принципі, згоріли всі вщент. А оце от семена пшениці з правої сторони, отаку пшеницю ми в цьому році сіяли. Половина згорівша, половина залишилась, ну, сподіваємося, ну, другого у нас нічого не було.
So on the left, you see the storage with with the corn, which also burned. I asked about the implements for the tractor. He said that it got damaged by the explosions. However, after repairing, it can work. You can see the pulled sprayer is standing, and on the right, you can see the seeds of wheat, which they actually used to plant because they didn't have any other seeds available. So some of those is burned, black ones, hoping that something will germinate.
От, да, на нижній фотографії це
Он
наш,
сказал, завтра сказать.
ні, на
Мгм.
другий наш ангар, який також від взриву. Ну, він сам такий старенький був, але його можна було частково використовувати, ну, але вже він такий весь від зрива розшатався, він розсипається весь уже сам по собі.
So the old facility here, which actually was able to be used a little bit for some purposes, now is totally needs to be totally demolished because of the explosion. It is just shredding down by itself. Окей. Скажіть, будь ласка, стосовно от фактично, якщо взяти так по порядку, номер 1, що вам зараз потрібно для сезону, номер 2, номер 3?
Мы слышали выступление Гордия, извиняюсь.
Да,
У
да,
нас те же самые проблемы. Как бы он, ну, топливо – это как бы вопрос номер 1 на сегодняшний день.
От далі, якби по поводу техніки, якби необхідно, бо то, що ми зараз у сусідів, якби там я показував Андрію підприємство, де ми одолжили трактор, то з дня на день його, в принципі, можуть забрати. І по техніці у нас ще ж прицепки, якби росіяни вкрали, які ми вивозили продукцію з поля. От, і у ЗІЛ, якби у нас був, ну, там осколками в задню часть зайшло, спереді, якби через кабіну все вийшло. Там, да, там теж, якби, це, ну, вивозить, наприклад, якесь транспортне средство у нас теж немає. Тобто, ну, колісне таке от все двіжиме у нас, в принципі.
Okay, so I asked what are the list of things that are most important right now, critical in order to be able to do the season. So first of all, as Alexei said, and as far as I understand, Alexei understands English. So he said that Gordie was very right speaking that the number 1 problem is the fuel. And they lack fuel very much. The second thing, as for equipment, of course, the tractor, which was destroyed, and now they are using their neighbor's one, which needs to be given back within days. And what to do next, they do not know. As well as the cart that was used to take out the crops from the fields. They have stolen it. They have purely just looted it away. Their truck, the old Zeal branded truck had the explosion nearby, and the wrecks from the explosion of the mine just went through from the back of the cabin to the front. So it was shredded through the cabin, and they can fix it, but of course it's not something that can be used for a long time because the cabin is destroyed. So these are the things that they lack, first of all, like the priority. Я зрозумів. Да, кажіть, будь ласка.
На сьогоднішній день, якби ми собі намалювали 4 якби проблеми. Це то, що там Гордій розказував, що це проблеми з посівною, коли диспалива не вистачає, якби це є проблема. От проблему з насінням якби ми рішили, бо багато людей в Україні зараз відмовляються в якихось регіонах і не всю землю засівають, то ми під розписки вдалегідь, без грошей, бо заплатити немає чим, то ми під розписки беремо ці якби семена, у кого можна взяти, то ми беремо. Але СЗР, средства защити растінь, да, от вони будуть по предоплаті. Так не даються, бо це ж ми розуміємо, що воно йде з Китаю, весь це імпорт. Це у нас теж проблема СЗР,
коштів обігових для ЗЗРів.
Обігових коштів, да, для СЗР, бо це треба тільки предоплата. Варіантів другого немає. Люди собі СЗР якби не беруть. І складське поміщення, бо ми все розуміємо, бо ми засіваємо, все одно знаходимо десь, одалжуємо сімена. От чим перевезти і де хранить, оце у нас проблема. Тобто СЗР, чим перевезти і де хранить. Це три таких проблеми. Ну і топливо.
Проблем.
Да, хоча, ну це такі, що...
І
У
питання...
нас работают люди, которые с Харьковской области, они тоже, они с Балаклеи.
З Балаклеї. У нас,
Да. Мы сейчас берем вот хлопцев, переселенцев, да.
Пострадавших.
Потому что негде, работы нет, жить людям негде, мы сейчас вот это устраиваем.
Да, оце тут якраз на нижньої...
Да, тут на фотографії не видно,
не
правіє
видно.
домик.
Тут, в принципі, хлопчина живе, який з Балаклії, в якого сім'я, то також ми перевезли в Хмельницьку область туди, де наші діти.
В цьому сарайчику живе?
Ну, в принципі, да, він тут рядом тут знаходиться,
да,
і,
видно на
бо в нього будинок в Балаклії, якраз він знаходився біля військової частини, там будинок теж зложився весь.
Дайте я перекладу, бо дуже багато і важлива інформація. So, a lot was said, let me translate, because this is important. First of all, if you go through the list, first is the fuel. Second is the ability to transport the commodities from the field, because we are actually planting. A lot of people, other farmers refuse to do the planting, and you know that the territories were under planting of the crops decreased. That is why some of the seeds we were able not to buy, because we do not have the cash. We were providing the documents that we are taking these seeds as a loan, and we will pay back later in the season. Also, the problem of the storages where to store these commodities that will come after the harvest. We need to rebuild and fix the storage capacities. And a lot of people from Kharkiv oblast, for example, Balaklia, came as refugees to this area. Their families are in the Western Ukraine. However, men need to be looking for a job, and there is no job in the area. That's why they are trying to help here with the season. And one of them, he lives nearby this almost destroyed shed, helping them, trying to get at least something to do, and hoping that he will get paid if the yield comes. So even the people who work, they work mainly as a volunteers so far. This is the situation in the area in Ukraine. Олександре, а скажіть, будь ласка, стосовно, от ви кажете, коштів обігових не вистачає, а як відносно позик? Я пам'ятаю, ви згадували, якщо можна, коротко розкажіть ситуацію, чому позики не спасають?
Ну, позики не спасають, бо якби коштів якби в народу немає. Тут зараз збираємо...
Я маю на увазі в банку ця от програма.
В банку? Дивіться, в банку справа в тому, що ми працювали до того, як ми створили товку, ми працювали на ФОПі. От, і з ФОПом у нас була добра кредитна історія. От, і якби ми працювали б на сьогоднішній день, я думаю, що ФОП би нам дали. Але так як ми перейшли вже на товариство з обмеженою відповідальністю, на юридичну особу, то ФОП ми вже закрили. А по товці у нас ще кредитної історії нема. Ну, по крайній мірі, це те, що ми подали документи в банк, і банк нам відповів, що ребята, якби ФОП може бути і да. І атовка у вас, вибачте, ми хоч вас і знаємо лічно, але по документам ви у нас не проходите. Тим більше, що, от як Гордій сказав, що ризиковий регіон, ну, да, в принципі...
So I asked about this program of providing loans. Why can't you acquire these loans? And the problem is the following. As Alexander said, just recently they have shifted in the form of registration of their farm from the private entrepreneur, which is the smallest business, to a bigger one, which is the LLC, a limited liability farming company. And the new company does not have the credit history. So the bank said, although we know you personally, but according to the requirements, we cannot consider you as the loan receiver. And just like Gordie mentioned before, you are in a still risky zone. So there is no way so far we can give you the loan unless something changes. Олександре, дякую вам за ваш час. Олександре і Олексію, дуже радий, що ви і ваші сім'ї в безпеці. Я впевнений, що аудиторія розділяє ці почуття. Що я можу сказати? Наш проект, про який я зараз буду говорити, націлений на те, щоб допомогти вам і вашим колегам по біді. Сподіваюся, що після того, як ця історія, ваша історія, ваших колег, які їм будуть далі розказувати, розповсюдиться, у нас буде така можливість. Тому поки що тримайтеся, але ми про вас не забудемо. Зробимо все, що зможемо.
Ми не тримаємося, ми працюємо.
Так.
I said that thank you for your story, and we understand how it is like doing farming for you and your colleagues. Our project that I'm going to speak about right now is all about helping you and your colleagues, and hopefully that this story will provide ability for world to rebuild rural Ukraine to help them. So hold on to what Alexander answered. We are not holding on, we are working. Дякую.
Але ми знаємо, що буде в майбутньому.
But we don't know what's coming in the future.
Це буде добре.
Ну, вже, сподіваюсь, найгірше позаду, а далі тільки все, що не вбиває нас, все робить сильнішими, тому...
Це точно.
Like I said, like people say, everything that does not kill us makes us stronger. So further, the future is for the stronger people here and more successful business. Добре, Олександре, дякую. Будемо продовжувати. А ми залишатимемося з вами на зв'язку через Дмитра і будемо інформувати по тому, які там далі будуть можливості. Поки що удачі. Хоча б нехай погода допоможе. So now we will be moving to the project, which I would like to, this is actually all what we are doing right now, is meant to help the rural Ukraine. And our project here that we set up at the beginning of April is all about helping the small to medium farming families or enterprises in the rural areas of Ukraine rebuild. And we have developed like the whole logistics and business plan that is actually capable of doing that objectively, as long as we can get the help from you. Our main request to all the audience right now, if that is possible, to help spread the word about this project, as we are collecting the donations for the purpose of rebuilding the farms like Alexander has, or the farms like Anatoly, the households like Anatoly had, because it is very important to understand that I will not go too deep into details, but these small and medium enterprises in the rural areas, they produce from 30% of crop commodities to 50% of animal produce from the total of Ukrainian production. So, for example, 90% of the total potato produced in Ukraine comes from these small farmers. About 60% of the milk that is processed by the factories in Ukraine are coming from these small farmers who have 1 to 2 cows. This is very important even from the point of view not only humane, we are helping the people to return to what they have already earned, but they lost for no reason. We are also investing into a small business that is strong enough to proceed and to continue, and is able to then have the profit to pay for itself with years. Let me show you a little bit around on our website. I do not want to take too much of your time. The main important purpose here, point here, that the project is targeting the small rural households and farms, just like we saw, in the areas which are already freed from the Russian army, and in the areas where we can come and start rebuilding. the people who have some money, they are doing the reconstruction themselves. But the others, like that gentleman who is living in the cell, he does not have the cost to do it himself. He needs help. And in return, he will do small farming and supply the food to the markets. So we have created, and in our first episode of this bi-weekly report, we told how we came up with this idea. It is very interesting because it was one family who inspired us on this project. So we have the whole team. Yes, here are the facts about how much of each produce is produced by these small farmers. And this is about who we target. You see, each of the Ukrainian village citizens, they have small plot behind the house and probably 1 to 2 hectares somewhere further in the village, which is the land plots that they were given off by the government after the collective farms collapsed. So what we want to do, we have 4 main purposes. First of all is rebuilding or renovation of the houses, of the actual homes of the people. It comes here the second, but we will correct this. This is the most important because the person needs to have the roof over their head. Once they are coming back from the refuge shelter, they need some place to live. The second is the reconstruction of the production capacities, like you saw, all those storages and all those premises, including the greenhouses. Some of them have small greenhouses. Of course, we are not targeting that huge farm with 400 hectares. However, the small ones also have like 5 meter to 3 meter greenhouses. Then the third is repurchasing the equipment. And please mind that it is very important. We are not going to supply to purchase a new last model John Deere to the ones who are using the Belarusian tractor. Of course, it would be the ideal situation. But here, in order to keep the most optimum usage of the donated money, we are providing the farmers with the equipment they know how to use, with the equipment that they have come up themselves to purchase by collecting this money and by choosing what they need for their production. We are not giving for their 2 hectares the tractor that has 500 horsepower, but we are giving what they already have. This is not a present to them. This is just a return of what they lost by this unfair and unprovoked war. And the last one is purchasing the farm animals. There was another story of the farmer in Kyiv oblast, which Dmytro said to me yesterday. The farmer had 80 sheep. However, after the Russian troops retreated, there were left only 12 because they were slaughtering the sheep, eating, but the remaining of the meat, they were just pouring with the diesel in order not to have anything left for the people. The same was happening with pigs and so on. So all the villages have suffered the same actions, which were targeting to leave people with nothing for starvation. All our team, Travelite team, and this is just part of us, are involved in the World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine project. So we are actually locating the people in need, just like Dima did last time, and we are using the trusted network of Ukrainian bigger farmers to point us where to go and who needs help. The reason is that the bigger farmers, we have developed this relationship like a friendly relationship. I keep in touch with each of them on a regular basis, and I know the names of their children. I know how they have been growing to this size, and they are from the patriots of their small villages. Therefore, they, although cannot take care of them by themselves, of their neighbors, they will gladly point out to those in need who we would help. And this is a very important message to the agricultural machinery and equipment producers who I am targeting to meet with and present this project to, like John Deere, like AGCO, Case IH, Kinsey, and others. Please keep in mind that you have a very good market in Ukraine with these mid-sized to bigger farmers. They appreciate your equipment and your work in Ukraine. They are used to be given presents by you in the form of the free trips to United States or to some other countries, covering all the costs. However, they will even more appreciate the fact that if you donate and their neighbors' buildings were rebuilt, they will appreciate this fact for the reason that they know, and they, being a business person, they understand that probably you will not get the direct or quick return on this investment from their house, but still you have done this investment into the people's homes reconstruction or the smallest farmers reconstruction. Yes, they might be using today the Belarusian tractor, but if you help them grow today, in 5 years they will be purchasing your tractor. And this is one of the benefits that adds up to the other benefit, the much higher, much better image of your brand worldwide. We will do on our end the best to speak out about it if you join the project. So I would very much like that if you want to donate, contact me please, and we will discuss all the options with you. And that is referring to the equipment producers, also producers of the inputs who work in Ukraine, companies like Monsanto Bayer, Pioneer, DeKalb, and others. We are open for the dialogue. Now, in order to show you, yes, how it works, I have already said that we are using the trusted network of the farmers. Then we discuss with people their situation. We, within our team here, we decide who, this is just part of the team, not everybody have provided photos yet. We decide who are the first to receive this aid, to our opinion. And after that, we discuss it with the ambassadors of the project. By saying discuss, we compose a proposal and we send it to everyone here on the list. Those are respected Americans, and Ukrainians are also joining. And if they do not agree with something, we do not proceed with the donation transfer to them. So every one of them can, if they do not like the idea, can veto, so to say, our idea. And the last important part is that in order to guarantee the transparent usage of the money and to make sure that we, to show you that we are serious, we have developed a serious structure here, we have the partner LifeNets. This is the NGO, just a second, yes, this is the NGO, American NGO that can accept the money and tax reductible. So this is 53C, I don't remember the code, but this is interesting for the companies because they do not need to pay taxes on these donations. Then once the money is accumulated in LifeNet's funds, and once we approve the project for construction of a household, our Association of Veterans in Agribusiness, this is the NGO in Ukraine, gets this money wired internationally, and then it is responsible into distribution of the money between the coordinators who are running and overlooking each of the project. Dmytro Kalytka, he is one of our coordinators who will be working in this village. We are opening, so to say, or like we are entering other areas as well, and there is a lot of work to be done, unfortunately, in south of Ukraine when it is freed from the Russian forces, and I have no doubts that it will happen sometime in the northeast and even still in Kyiv Oblast. One village, which we are going to be talking next time with you about, the value of the losses in that one village, Kyiv Oblast, is about $33 to $37 million. And the majority of that money is just the damage done to the houses and the private households. So, and yes, I can see a number of questions here. Or it is just the notes, it's not the questions. From Mr. William Mayers. Yes, thank you very much for the communication. I will be even more grateful to you if you could spread the word and help us reach the people and the businesses who can donate. And now let's go to the last topic that I promised to cover today, is the Kherson Oblast. Like I said, I have very close relationships with majority of the farmers in each oblast, and the first farmer who in the year 2008 trusted me to invite his friends and travel with me to the United States was Igor. I will not be saying his last name because he's still under occupation, and I managed to talk to him and his colleague, who also was on that group, but he's more lucky to have evacuated his family and have left Kherson Oblast. So he was able to speak more. But in case with Igor, I found out that last week on Tuesday, he was captured by Russian FSB, or these corrupt forces that work in Kherson. And I know that he is very pro-Ukrainian and he is very active in his position, patriotic position. That is why he was under #1 risk. So knowing that they have this list of people that need to be just eliminated, first of all, in order to proceed with this occupation, we understood that he is on that list as well. But thanks God, he yesterday said that he was allowed to return to his work, and now he's planting. So Kherson is very similar oblast by the production to California in the United States. This is the heart of the vegetables production, open air. This has probably the best and unique network or setting of the water irrigation channels. And when those Russian forces came first, they destroyed the university, the Institute of Irrigation. They just destroyed all the papers, all the work, everything they could, probably understanding that this is the best science data from the past Soviet Union on how to irrigate the crops. By the way, this irrigation system was successful enough that they were able to apply supply water to the northern part of Crimea. A little bit of history. A lot of people say that Crimea is Russian territory. Actually, no, this is Tatar territory, Crimean Tatars territory. Then it was captured by Russia, then became the Soviet Union. Within the Soviet Union, Crimea was very underdeveloped territory. They couldn't get the infrastructure there. So what they did, they have kind of like presented it to the Ukrainian USSR, but have taken from us the territories here in Kuban, the very prosperous Ukrainian, also rich soil territories. And they forced Ukraine, like they gave it a task to, first of all, organize the agriculture here, and second of all, build the resorts for the party, Communist Party leaders to have a place to stay in summertime, like a vacation. Ukraine succeeded doing that. And now when Crimea was like the pearl of the Black Sea, they have annexed it. Of course, we shut down the water channels in 2014. And again, the agricultural system came to devastation in the north of Crimea. I had clients there as well. So a lot of them ceased work as agricultural producers. Now similar things are happening in Crimea. So, in Kherson. First of all, people started to be missing. Hundreds of people are missing and no one knows where they are. Most likely they are, I will not proceed, but you may guess, like it was in Bucha and other cities. Also was said such an interesting thing, and this is the betrayal on the level of Ukrainian military. The Russian generals who came in this oblast, when they settled, they announced, they said that we were expecting that you will give up. This was the agreement with your military. And we were very much angry and astonished that you were fighting back. How dare you? So they have, yes, a lot of police troops, military, majority have left Kherson Oblast just prior to the attack. Those who were fighting back were the territorial defending troops, which were not trained military. They succeeded capturing, holding the bridge. There is a bridge over here for a couple of, it seems to be, it's somewhere here, for a couple of days, but then they also, of course, couldn't stand. And as a result, all Kherson Oblast, especially the left bank, and a little bit of the right bank within the Kherson city, the only city, administrative capital of the administrative region that was captured by Russians, was very quickly captured. Mariupol still stands. I mean, not the city itself, but the military there. And here it was too easy. Right now they are, what they are doing, they are going through the farm, enterprise farmers and saying, you have 15 days to provide the information. How big your farm is, how many people work, what do you grow, where you store your grain, and in return, we will help you sell your grain. However, as it is in the oblasts, Mykolaiv Oblast, and yes, over here, this is, no, Mykolaiv is here, yes, this is Mykolaiv Oblast. And out in Zaporizhia, they are having, so they're collecting this data and then they're just taking the grain away without paying back. So they are exporting it with convoys to the Crimean Peninsula. Of course, they're using this bridge, which for some reason has not been destroyed yet by Ukrainian troops. But I think it's a matter of, I hope it's a matter of days before they destroy this connection. This is very important from the military standpoint, because right now, what I was said by people who escaped Kherson, Russians keep bringing more and more people, military soldiers and equipment into the oblast. Therefore, it will be more and more difficult to fight it back. And if we shut down this source here, there is not much, the supply here will come to an end. About the planting season. Yes, the farmers tried to be planting. However, they needed to sign the papers. That's up to 70% of their commodities will be, of their yield will be given to Russians. 70%. This is usually less, I mean, more than the costs of production. However, they are still hoping that Ukrainian territory will be fought back and they will not have to give off this 70% of the yields. And in order to survive, of course, they are also signing those papers. This is just a little bit of information from these territories, and this is like the top of the iceberg, which can be seen above the water level. But what's beneath, I think this is another thing that is similar to Bucha or Hostomel. And what they also said, that all the villages in Kherson Oblast, for example, on this side of the bank, on the right side of the bank, which were fighting back, they were destroyed, although there were no military there, they were deliberately destroyed by the Russians. There is understanding that Mariupol was destroyed for the same reason, that in 2014 it didn't give up. It stood against Russian invasion. So now they kind of like took revenge. What kind of people are those bastards? The Russian Federation soldiers and majority of those who support this war. Anyway, we will win it. And this is a matter of the world, not only food supply, but world security and democracy dominating. Thank you all the countries who support Ukraine. Thank you the people who are fighting in the front lines of our battle. Not all of you are military and a lot of you are volunteers. So we are proud of you, and may God bless Ukraine and Ukraine's alliances and Ukraine people. So far, we will proceed with our mission, with the World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine mission. I'm traveling throughout majority of the states in the United States of America, and soon we will publish the schedule of me giving the presentations and talks to different groups of people. I invite you to spread information and give me a call or email once you have good ideas how I can, who I can speak to. This is the least we can do, but not the last in terms of helping Ukrainian people, and any ideas are welcome. Thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you, Travelite team, for helping me collect this information. We will proceed with these bi-weekly updates on Ukraine agricultural. And in 2 weeks, we will tell more about the statistics of Ukrainian agricultural production and about one village that was totally destroyed in Kyiv Oblast. But not only, there will be also new people and new farmers to interview. All the best to you. Enjoy the weekend and good luck with the planting seasons. God bless you. Thank you.